So, all right. Well,
Hello,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Hammered Brothers, brought to you by Adam.
Oh, I thought you were going to say by beer.
Oh, brought to you by beer. That actually makes a little more sense. Yes.
But also Jake.
Yes, sorry. I'm just self-absorbed, that's all. Anyway, so we're drinking some more beer because that's what we do. And I've
Bat
got,
Squatch.
Yeah, Bat Squatch. We're back into the back squatch. Backsplotch?
Backs. What? Get off my back, Squatch?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so we've got another topic for today. Oh, I did that very poorly.
What have you done?
Yeah, I can do better. You'd think that I don't know what I'm doing. I actually do know what I'm doing, and I just know that I did it horribly wrong. It's just the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, so we've got a new topic for conversation today. So thanks for everybody for tuning back in. If you've seen us before, if this is your first time, well,
Prepare for disappointment.
prepare to be disappointed. Yeah, that sounds right. So what are we talking about today, Jake?
Today, we are talking about the newest Avengers movie, Avengers Endgame.
And probably the last Avengers movie that I care about.
Good chance. Good chance.
Yeah, just saying. We talked a little bit before about Avengers Infinity War, which turned out to be a pretty reasonably good movie.
Yeah, I liked Infinity War. Endgame was fine. I'm going to say it was fine. Would recommend. Obviously, almost everyone in the world has seen this movie.
Yeah,
Who is
yeah.
going to see this movie?
Since it made like $1 billion.
More than that. What
Well,
is it?
more
It's
than
like
$1 billion, yeah, at
over
this point.
2, right?
Oh,
It
geez.
finally got past Avatar. That was previously the highest grossing movie ever.
Yeah.
And you know, Disney's just over there rubbing their hands together. They now own all the most profitable franchises. Go Disney!
Yay. I'm glad that you handled Star Wars so well.
Oh my God.
They had to pick up the slack someplace, I guess. So good
Yeah.
job, MCU, because you're going to be the heavy lifter.
You're the cash cow.
Yeah.
They've already destroyed one brand.
Until they figure out how to on earth to fix it. Oh, which reminds me, I think in one of our last videos we talked about Game of Thrones and how the sausage is made. And when I said that, I was referring specifically to who is it? Barry and Derry and Barry and Weiss.
D&D. I know they're D's. in their
Anyway, those
names.
guys apparently, as near as I can tell, they were offered the Star Wars universe to spearhead.
Yeah, and after the last season of Game of Thrones, that does not bode well.
No. So prepare to be disappointed.
I already was.
Yeah. So that's a thing that we can all look forward to or not look forward to, as the case may be. Anyway, so back to the topic at
Back
hand.
to Endgame.
Endgame. So
Endgame. It was no Infinity War.
it was no Infinity War. I 100% agree.
It was a conclusion. It was a well-crafted conclusion.
Yep.
It had a lot of really great moments
Yep.
scattered throughout.
Yep.
A lot of really great character moments.
And some not great character
And
moments.
some not great character moments, but it did everything it had to. It did a bunch of things it didn't have to. Mm-hmm. Did some things it probably shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. But I would recommend it.
Yeah, I would recommend it also, but really only if you are already invested in this universe. And the movie will make almost no sense unless you saw Avengers
that's
Infinity War.
Just it. I'm not convinced that you could just watch the Avengers movie and enjoy them if you hadn't seen the other movies in the MCU.
Yeah.
I don't
There's a
know
lot of
that.
crossover.
I've basically seen every movie in the MCU, so I don't know.
Yeah. There's a few key movies, some movies more so than others that are more important, it seems like.
Right. There are definitely some skippable movies out there.
Yeah. I would say all the ones that have Avengers in the title are obviously important to understand what's going on in this movie.
Right.
You would be well served by having seen an Iron Man movie. You would also
Probably just
be
the first one.
well served by seeing I would say the Captain America movie, but really the only one that matters in the context of what we're seeing is Civil War.
Right.
Because Captain America as a character has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first we can talk about those movies, but that's not really what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we should probably just talk about each character at some point. Anyway, yeah, without the context of at least a pretty good understanding of the MCU, I don't know that I would recommend this movie. But for anyone who has spent any time with these movies, obviously you're going to have to see this one to get any sort of conclusion out of them.
Yeah. Yep.
So, why was this movie not as good as Infinity War?
That is a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with some of the pacing. I think that was one of the big challenges that I had with it, certainly early on. And the movie does not feel quite, I don't know. It's very tricky to pin that down.
I would say, and I've heard this elsewhere, I can't claim any great knowledge thinking of this, but the Infinity War movie was really, it had Thanos as the central character.
Right,
a main character.
It was his movie,
almost.
really.
It was Thanos' movie. This movie did not have that. This was, if anyone's movie, it was Iron Man's movie, but we didn't spend most of the movie with him. So you can't quite say that.
Yeah.
You could say it was Iron Man and Captain America, but even there, doesn't quite work.
Yeah. I mean, to its credit, the movie tried to get back to kind of the core Avengers. So you had,
and that was good. I really liked that.
You had Thor, you had Captain America, you had Iron Man, you had those kind of core people, and that was to the movie's credit. But you're right, Infinity War really was, Thanos was almost the main character. You could have almost seen him that way.
Yep.
He
could
had
be interpreted that way.
Very clear motivations. He was a sympathetic villain, but while still absolutely being a villain, which is important and a difficult thing to kind of pull off.
Yeah.
And in this movie, you had a Thanos character that has regressed to a comic book caricature of what what he was in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And the movie suffered as a result.
Yeah, and it made sense given the context of the movie that he was this regressed version of himself because he basically had an arc in Infinity War, which made him who he was at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he accomplished what he set out to do. He did. He actually accomplished what he wanted to do.
Yep.
And it was difficult, and he had to overcome obstacles. It was his movie.
Yeah, if you looked at Infinity War as his movie, and if you actually agreed that he was doing the right thing, then it was absolutely him as the protagonist of his own movie.
Which is interesting you say that, because there are some throwaway lines in Endgame that make you question whether or not he was right.
Yeah,
which was good.
Odd lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was good.
I don't necessarily agree with the portrayal of the nihilistic kind of humanity that we would have if half the population on the planet just evaporated.
Sure.
I think that they could have done more with that.
There's a lot to that. The biggest issue is that, so look, 100 years ago, I believe the population of the planet was half of what it is today. He hasn't set us back very far if he has only gotten rid of half the population.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing about this.
Because it was randomized. It was not like he took away the top half and he just left us with all the idiots.
Right.
That's not what happened at all. It was just, he just removed half.
It's like people are capable of reproducing very quickly.
Yeah.
Given the right circumstances.
And in depending on who you ask, some people would actually say that what he did was in fact the right thing to do. So I'm not sure I agree with that either, but I know there are people out there who are,
so
Bill Burr complains about it on his podcast all the time. He's like, I should get rid of all the people, man.
Yeah. But the thing is, you got to do that the right way, not by killing everybody.
Yeah.
You got to solve the problem of why do people reproduce at the rate they do.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you have to approach.
Yeah. So sustainability aside.
Yeah.
That's a minor gripe.
That's a whole other
weird kind of meta thing that the movie had going on.
Yeah, whole other thing. So the start of the movie. I really liked the opening scene, if I'm being honest. I thought it set the tone very well.
So the opening scene was great with
Yeah.
Hawkeye and
Yeah,
the,
Hawkeye
my
and his
gosh.
family.
Yeah, that was fabulous. That was masterfully done. That was
Really
one of the strengths. When they have scenes like that where you've got these characters that have a history, you have a history with, and you know their motivations, and you see something like that. That's like Pixar level of like rip your heart out within 3 minutes of opening. You know,
Right.
that is impressive. So
yeah,
that
people
was
complain. People complain that it was daytime and they were over in Wakanda, and it was daytime there. Also, when the snap
That's
happened,
fair, but
I don't care. I can let that slide.
wasn't he in? Was he in the United? I
Well,
suppose
that's
he
the
was.
other thing.
I
That
thought he
was my
in-
other thing. They never said what country he was settled down in.
He could have been in Great Britain or
He
something.
could have been. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know.
No, we don't know.
So he could have put his family anywhere to protect them. We
Yeah.
don't know where they were.
I don't remember because that was in which one? That was Age of Ultron. I
Yeah,
think,
Age of
so.
Ultron. They went to his family's place.
Yeah.
I guess it was implied that it probably
in the
was in the
United-
United
yeah,
States.
that's
but
fair.
there's no reason to think that it absolutely was, I
Yeah.
guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe the snap just took a while. You know, kind of like as the world
Yeah,
turns,
right?
You know,
Yeah.
what that is the least of my concerns with the movie.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
doesn't matter.
It was a great scene.
It was a great scene. I 100% agree. The more the pacing issues start after that, right? It's when
Right.
it's like, okay, now we're in a van in a parking lot, and it's 5 years later or whatever it is. Okay, blah blah blah.
Does it
You know.
immediately go to that scene? I don't remember.
I don't even, or maybe, or was it? No, it doesn't go immediately to there because then we have to have Deus Ex Machina come in and save the day with Tony Stark.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right. Completely unnecessary character. So, another aside, I know we should stop doing this. I saw Captain Marvel. You did not,
I
right?
did not. I did not see it. I have no interest in Captain Marvel. I never saw the Ant-Man movies, and Ant-Man was
Sure.
like huge in this movie. So
I saw Captain Marvel. The movie was okay. It was absolutely okay. I did not like the Captain Marvel character. Unfortunately, that is usually the opposite in other Marvel movies, is you like the main character, and then it's the movie that doesn't do them justice.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel was kind of the opposite. Captain Marvel as a character, really, really not impressive.
Yeah.
But the movie was fine.
yeah, which is fine. I mean, it's a horse apiece. You get what you get.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I said, I didn't see the Ant-Man movies either, and I have kind of a passing interest in seeing the Ant-Man movies, but just like Captain Marvel, it's not a character I'm familiar with. It's not really a character I care about at all, so I just kind of skipped those movies.
But no, her appearance in Endgame was really unfortunate. If I'm honestly, she shouldn't have been there. This was supposed to be the movie about the original Avengers fixing the biggest problem the world has ever faced.
Yeah.
And she's not in it much, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
But her presence damages the quality of the movie.
Overall, she is a not. It is a bad deal that she's even in the movie.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and it doesn't make sense in so many ways. It's really unfortunate. So, and it probably could have been handled differently and better. Maybe if they had a Captain Marvel movie come out, 4 years ago or something like that, then
Right.
she would have been an established character. It wouldn't have been
Yeah.
as problematic. But as it stands, it's what. I don't know anything about Captain Marvel, but as I understand it, she is basically a female Superman. Is that right? She's
That's fair.
Very
Similar
overpowered.
power level, yes,
So what makes
for some reason.
So what makes Superman interesting? And the answer is very little.
Very little. Superman's not a very interesting superhero.
No, he's
At all.
only interesting when he's vulnerable. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yep.
So what makes Superman vulnerable? Well, Kryptonite, Lois Lane, his family,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yep.
That's the stuff that creates the drama, which makes Superman interesting because he's just an I win at everything character.
He is.
And that's problematic. And apparently Captain Marvel suffers from many of the same things.
Yeah, same
So,
thing. Apparently an Infinity Stone is the only thing that is on her power level.
Well, I didn't know that. That's more news
Well,
to
I
me.
mean, it's the only thing in the movie that does any damage to her.
You know what's funny? When Jake and I went to Avengers Infinity War, And at one point in the movie, well, right away, they start with Thor. And I had not yet seen Thor Ragnarok. So they start with Thor, and he's got a new haircut. He's got one of his eyes gouged out and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok. Is this going to be a problem? And then I kid you not, by the next time you see Thor and he's getting rescued by Guardians of the Galaxy, there is literally a throwaway line. It is one or two sentences. That's it. It takes all of like 5 seconds for him to get through it. And it's like, oh, I guess that's the entire plot of Thor Ragnarok. I guess I don't need to see that anymore.
Except Thor Ragnarok
was a great movie. It was so good. For all the wrong reasons, too.
Right.
It was just different. But it struck me as there was no explanation as to why Captain Marvel was there at any point. And a throwaway line like what we got from Thor about Thor Ragnarok and the events of Thor Ragnarok would have been welcomed by someone like me who had not seen Captain Marvel. So just saying, for a 3-hour movie, you could have had one throwaway line to explain why the hell this person is here.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. She's an odd one. I don't really want to talk about her anymore, honestly.
That's fair. All
that
right.
could be a separate thing.
Yeah. So then we're into, the time skip, and there's talk, and they're trying to have these kind of character moments between Black Widow and Captain America and all this and that. And it's kind of interesting to see where the characters have gone. And they're the two big changes that we see is obviously with Thor and with Hulk. What did you think of Fat Thor?
I thought it was fine initially. My disappointment comes from him not getting back to form by the end of the movie, which you could argue that he does. Yes, it would have been silly for him to somehow get back into super buff shape by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But part of me wanted to see him at his best again in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. It is weird. It's interesting. It was an interesting choice. And I don't necessarily begrudge the filmmakers for making that choice or the writers. It did feel a little weird. It was the initial reveal, obviously funny, gets a good laugh, and that's all fine and
Quality.
good. But it didn't feel right. And the longer that they kept going with it, the more uncomfortable with that decision I got. And they try to make a thing out of it when they're doing the time jumping around and all that kind of stuff.
He kind of has his mini getting over it arc, I guess.
Yep. And that's all fine and good, but it felt weird somehow, and I can't quite put my finger on why that is necessarily, but it just didn't quite work for me. Despite the humor factor, which the humor was fine, and that was good. I like that. I think it's silly, and this is a comic book movie. Let's not get over our skis as to what kind of deep level of art form this is here.
Right.
And then of course the other kind of controversial portrayal is the Hulk.
I personally liked his a lot less than Thor, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I thought that was a mishandled character.
Yeah.
His impact on this movie was very small, and I just found it very strange. His always Hulk, always still Bruce Banner.
Yeah. Thing. That's another one that felt weird. Initially, the humor factor was great. The deal where they're like taking selfies with...
it was silly. It was fun.
It was silly and fun. And who was sitting next to him? I forget. Oh, don't you want a picture of me?
It was Ant-Man.
Oh, it was Ant-Man. Well, I haven't seen Ant-Man, so I wouldn't have known either. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why anyone would know who Ant-Man is in the Marvel Universe. And I have seen both of the Ant-Man movies, and that's why nothing that he's ever done has been something that people would have seen on a global scale.
Yeah, he's not Iron Man or the Hulk.
Yeah, he just hasn't been involved in that capacity.
Yeah. So it felt very odd because, especially coming off of Thor Ragnarok, where the Hulk, like the actual Hulk character, not just Bruce Banner's character, but the Hulk character actually has like a character. He's like a person
Yeah.
that it has reason and thoughts and
Yep.
communicates and all that, and that's all gone, 100% gone, just gone altogether.
Yeah, he somehow overcame his own inner demons in the interim between these two Avengers movies, and we didn't get to see any of that.
No,
So
yeah.
So instead, we're just left with the end result, and now he doesn't have an arc in this movie at all.
No, he's just and that's part of the problem is so many of the characters and we have been with these characters for a long time. So the amount of arc that any one of them can have in a single film at this point, especially with such a large cast of characters, is going to be pretty minute, but his was literally zero.
Yeah, nothing. He was comic relief in this movie.
He was.
He was there to do the snap to bring everyone back.
Because he's the only one who's powerful enough.
He can absorb all those gamma rays or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess. But
I guess.
As one of the 6 primary Avenger characters, it felt like he was given nothing to do.
It was nothing to do. It's just we like seeing the Hulk be the Hulk.
Right. Yes. That's a good point.
You know,
We never saw it in this movie,
Not
except
even a
technically in the time travel. You got to see him from the original Avengers movies and the whole staircase thing. Funny, sure.
funny. Yeah.
But yeah, we never got to see the Hulk present day being the Hulk.
Yeah. So again, I had pacing issues. I thought that a lot of the exposition early on just took too long. It really didn't, but it felt like it took too long to me. I'm just looking for any way to chop out some of the time that we spent on this movie. This movie was so long.
I know they were trying to set the tone for the world post the snap as being this horrible, depressing place because of what happened.
I don't know. And they even, there's the scene where Captain America's part of like this support group or whatever, and the guy's talking about, well, I finally saw, someone, and I guess I'm going to see him again, and that's great. Oh, that's great. Okay, fine.
And we both cried.
Yeah, we both cried. Okay, well, it's been 5 years. Like,
Right.
5 years, 5 years, 5 years, man. 5 years. That's a long time.
It is a long time.
I mean, I get it, sort of, but 5 years. God, I have a daughter. She is 6 years old. 5 years ago, she was literally crapping her diaper every day, and now she graduated from kindergarten. I mean, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
You should be able to get over things, and if you can't get over things, I'm sorry, you got to grow the fuck up.
I guess it depends on who you lost
I
to an
guess.
extent.
Okay, so that's fair. That's totally fair. If I lost my wife or if I lost my daughter or whatever the case is, that would be truly devastating.
Right.
That would be.
Because it was random. So
Yeah.
you look at Hawkeye.
Yes,
He lost his whole family.
That's true.
And then
That's
you look
true.
at Iron Man, and he came out of it okay, and that's referenced in the movie.
Yep. And they make a big deal out of
Yep.
it, and that's fair. That's totally fair because there were winners and losers in this deal.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think they're doing the best they can with the route that they took. So let's talk about that route a little bit. So instead of going back to Thanos as it is, we don't do that. Thanos apparently destroys the Infinity Gauntlet on all the Infinity Stones
Yeah.
and is subsequently killed by Thor. For doing that because they wanted to be able to go and undo the snap, which is kind of what everybody would have thought or would have expected or whatever. Again, this is subversion played appropriately. I wouldn't necessarily say they played it right, but at least it was appropriate.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about subversion last time.
We did.
A four-letter word.
So this subversion, I do like. I will say I like it more than I hate it. It was unsatisfying, but that was part of the point. You got to kill him, but you didn't get to fix what was wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
He died thinking that he was successful still as well. He never got to see that he was wrong. So, really upsetting in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And since it happened towards the beginning of the movie, I think that's okay.
Yeah. So then we're led off on a completely different way of getting back to the way things were.
Mm-hmm.
And again, having not seen the Ant-Man movies, all of a sudden Ant-Man becomes a like central character to this movie, which is fine.
Right.
Again, I'm aware of who Ant-Man is
Yeah,
peripherally.
he's had
and
his
that's
2
fine.
movies.
Yeah.
He's every bit of as big a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as
Yeah.
anyone else.
And so apparently a rat
Yeah.
saves the universe.
So then you got the whole, I guess Doctor Strange saw the rat when he saw this. I mean, that was a little silly.
Yeah. It's a little bit too happenstance, a little bit too much chance involved.
Yeah, have just some random people find all this crazy equipment and start messing with it. I mean, something more likely to have happened, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it whatever. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
And
This was easy and quick.
Yeah, and so he's able to go and find, I guess, his daughter. Was that his daughter?
Yeah, that was his daughter. Oh, and I suppose you don't even know because they were just conducting a test with this whatever realm he went to where he gets made subatomic or whatever.
Yep, yep.
And while they were conducting the test is supposedly when the snap happened.
Right.
So the people who were going to bring him back got turned to dust.
Was that a thing in his movie?
That was that was the after credits scene in the second Ant-Man movie.
Oh,
Because the second Ant-Man movie came out after Infinity War.
Right. Yeah.
And there again, I should point out, also during the day. It was during the day that they got turned to dust again. So I guess they really weren't thinking about where the sun would have been in the sky, because that was definitely in the United States.
That's fair. I mean, if we're nitpicking,
I'm
we
just
may as well
realizing
nitpick it.
this now. Which is
Son of a
kinda
gun,
funny.
my phone is ringing. We'll be right back. Oh, shit. Oh, no! All right, we're back. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we just had a little bit of a scare there, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't think we were recording that last 26 minutes.
True horror.
Yes, we were very concerned. In fact, I might even have to edit that. Oh, no! Oh, no! Because it was a pretty classic moment.
Leave that in.
In fact, I'm just making sure. Oh, yeah, we're recording. We're good. We're better. We're better than ever. And we are several beers in at this point.
We still have beer.
We still have beer. We've got beer left. So we're going to at least talk until we don't have any beer left. As it turns out, we've been talking for a while already. So...
Yeah, I think we were just getting into the time travel portion of this movie.
Which is like a third of the way in.
Yeah, it's the second movie in this 3-part movie.
Yeah.
That is one movie.
That's right.
Well, it's over 3 hours, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. It's
pretty sure it
long
was.
movie. Long movie. So yeah.
So you've set the
time
tone.
travel.
The whole first portion was basically setting the tone. The world is terrible. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
And now we have brought Ant-Man back, and he has revealed that there may be some time travel component to going to the, I forget what the hell they call the realm that he goes to when he gets super, super tiny.
That's your deal.
Subatomic realm. I don't know.
Which I think is, as a concept, I think that's really interesting, and that pretty well works. I think it's a throwaway thing that
It is.
They come and approach Tony Stark, and he's like, I don't know, I think that's a really bad idea, and
Right.
blah blah blah. And then like later that evening, he's like, let's see, let's just run this test real quick, and if it's impossible to figure out, and he like goes and sits down. Oh, I'm done. I've got it figured out. Oh, okay, so we can time travel now.
Yeah, and I mean, the movie's over 3 hours long. They didn't want to dwell on this point. I get it. It's fine. But they could have done in the same amount of time. They could have implied that he actually worked on this for several days, at least.
Yeah, or and it was funny.
Weeks
It was
even.
funny the way they did it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it just kind of lent itself to the idea that the science is in fact sound.
Right.
So they were just able to calculate it, and that's all fine. And I really liked what they had done with Tony Stark's character at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had gone through all of Infinity War. He did all the crap. He had to go through all that stuff. He had to see these people literally evaporate in front of him, and it really did affect him deeply, as well it should. and having been stuck in space with Nebula, and that was all. I thought the character stuff there was all quite good.
Yep.
And then, of course, then we have our Deus Ex Machina moment, and then we're back on Earth again.
And he's angry.
And he is angry.
He's spicy.
Oh, yeah.
He gets spicy with Captain America.
He does.
He's not happy.
Which I think is fair. And I have issues with Captain America, and we will get to those issues.
Yeah, if anything, this movie handled Tony very, very well.
Yeah.
He got a very satisfying ending.
Yep.
Captain America,
tragic and satisfying.
Not feeling quite as good about Captain America.
No, absolutely not. Not even. Not
Makes
even
me
close.
sad.
Makes me sad as well. Captain America. I will just say this right now, right here, right now. I think Captain America as a character, certainly in his very first movie, and we've maybe touched on this in the past, but we're going to do an episode on the first Captain America movie because it deserves it. And that is the single biggest missed opportunity that Marvel has ever had, I think. That is my opinion. But that was an opportunity to have not just a comic book movie, but a period piece, a genuine and real, interesting and character-driven period piece. And they squandered it on a schlocky, just kind of silly action movie that made almost no sense.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so moving on.
So, yeah, Iron Man, he discovers the secret to time travel. Hooray. Now we get this convoluted plot about them needing to go back to different points in the Marvel Universe, past, and collect all of the Infinity Stones that have been destroyed in the present so that they can do the unsnap.
Yeah. And I don't have much of a problem with the concept of it's very Back to the Future too. In fact, they call that out. They make fun of the fact that this is basically the plot from Back to the Future 2. So... and it's good and it's fun and the rest of this whole thing kind of plays out exactly as you would kind of expect it to. In fact, they even kind of are self-aware about it because they first start by going back to previous moments that we've all seen as audience members, and then they're like, well, we don't have to do this. We can go back farther.
Right.
We can just go, and then we're going to have all the extra stuff that we need. We're going to get all the PIM particles that we need. We'll just... What are we going back only this far for? We can go anywhere we want.
Yeah, I don't know why they all had to go on their quests at the same time.
Yeah.
And then all come back at the same time, and they'd all find out at the same time if they were successful or not.
Oh, and they can move through time and space, apparently.
And space, yes.
Yeah, it was not just time. They were able to insert themselves into any time in any place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always an issue I have with time travel, honestly. It's like... objects in space are always in motion.
Yeah.
How do you know where the Earth is in its orbit and that where exactly on the Earth you need to be?
Yeah.
How do you determine that? I mean, I understand that you can probably program all that in if you're smart enough, but there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Oddly enough, there is that horrible The Time Machine movie with Guy Pearce, who I really like Guy Pearce, by the way. But there is a horrible... that The Time Machine, like the Orson Welles or whatever Time Machine movie, or based loosely on The Time Machine, the science fiction book. And what's interesting about that is he's got the time machine that's sitting in like its own little bubble, and everything else is moving around it. So it's like he's in his own little hyperbolic chamber bubble thing. Mm-hmm. And so that representation of the way time travel would work makes a certain amount of sense. I think that's kind of interesting.
Right.
Anyway, that movie was not good. Not good. No,
not good.
It was not good. Anyway, sorry.
So the time travel in this movie, I don't think that it makes logical sense. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the ways that you can use time travel that make logical sense would have served this movie properly.
Oh,
at least not with the way they went about it.
Yeah, another shout out to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Because basically when he's like, oh, we're just going to take this stuff right now, and as long as we succeed, which we're going to succeed. I mean, come on, we're going to succeed. So
we'll just bring it back.
And we'll just bring it back at exactly the same time that we took it, so you'll never even know that it was gone.
Yeah.
Remember the trash can. Remember the trash can. Sorry, Bill and Ted. I mean, that quality movie. So anyway,
Yeah, this movie tries to have time travel multiple ways, and that's the biggest problem I have with it.
Yeah.
It's like you got to pick your rules and you got to stick with those rules.
yeah.
This movie does not.
No. It plays fast and loose with the
You
rules.
can kind of think of ridiculous reasons why what this movie does could work given the rules they've given us, but I don't think there's any way that completely explains how the time travel works. And,
No.
but time travel's hard. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to do time travel right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any place where I've seen it handled properly. There was one movie, there was a Denzel Washington movie that came out. I forget what it was even called, Out of Time maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
And it was kind of a...
I think I saw that
It
one.
was interesting because right up until the very end, it was like, this is exactly what a time travel movie should be. And then, of course, at the very end, they like screwed it over.
Well,
So.
wasn't that one more of a you could just see into the future?
No, they had like this device or whatever that was always trailing everything by 3 days or whatever. And then they were able to send him back in time 3 days. And then as he's going through all of the things, it turns out that all of the same things that already happened, which is exactly what I think of time travel, is that, well, you're not really changing time. You're just going back and the things that happened already happened. So
Yeah, you've either got split realities or you've got everything that happened already happened.
Exactly. Yeah. It's either you subscribe to a multiple universe theory or else everything, if you
Yeah.
go back and try to meet yourself, unless you have literally met yourself,
Yep.
you never actually get to. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to get there. Mm-hmm. I mean, so anyway,
Yeah.
time travel's hard.
Time travel's hard, but you can pick one of those two paths and go with it, and it can at least make some sense in that way.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't. It tries to have
No,
it both of those ways for some reason,
Yep.
and it's very odd.
And to its credit, it allows for some fun moments.
Yep.
None of them are particularly meaningful or anything like
No.
that. It's just kind of fun. And let's not, again, get ahead of ourselves. This is a comic book movie, so it's campy and it's kind of fun, and that's what it's supposed
Yeah,
to be. So,
yeah.
so not really any complaints there. It's just kind of the way it is. Mm-hmm. So
But it is messy.
it is messy, and it leads into the larger problem. Again, moving through time and space, and they're able to go and do the
wherever they
nebula
want.
stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which then, of course, creates the problem, which brings Thanos from the past into the future,
Yeah.
which is the biggest problem with the movie overall. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Nebula seemed to have some idea that going back in time to when Thanos was actively looking for the Infinity Stones would be a problem.
and she goes back anyway.
She does it anyway. Like, did she know this was going to happen? She made it kind of seem like she did.
Yeah.
I also can't think of any reason. That in particular seems like they could have gone back way farther in time for their plan in particular.
Yeah.
The Soul Stone, was there any reason they couldn't have gone back another 100 years? Was it?
Or the day before Quentin shows up and just
Yeah.
like picked it up then and then like returned it right away.
I guess.
Remember the trash can.
Remember the trash. But yeah, the one that the Guardians of the Galaxy one where Peter Quill goes and grabs it. It kind of seemed like it had probably been there a really long time.
It did. Yeah.
Same
Well,
with the Soul Stone, right?
Yeah.
Where you have to kill somebody to get it. It seems like it's been there for a really long time.
Yeah, and they were super nondescript about the Soul Stone. I mean, that could have literally happened whenever.
Right.
Whenever. Just, it didn't matter.
So why go back to when Thanos is already looking for these?
Yeah.
You could have gone back to when Thanos was a baby.
Yeah, they could have gone. No, if we want to get into things, you could have gone
Well,
back.
right.
You know, we saw this at the end of the second Deadpool movie when he goes back in time and he's looking at baby Hitler. Just saying. I mean,
Well, no, I'm just saying
saying.
so that you wouldn't have to worry about Thanos.
you don't want
Obviously, going
you don't
back
want to
in
kill
time,
baby Thanos.
they established that going back in time wasn't going to change the present in any way.
Right. That's a good
So
point.
killing baby Thanos
That
wouldn't
yeah, it wouldn't have worked in the way that they've established time travel.
could have
works.
been very satisfying, though.
Yeah, it would have been, and they should have. They should because Deadpool's Marvel, isn't he?
Yeah,
They should have had Deadpool go back in time and kill baby Thanos.
right.
And then your movie wouldn't have been 3 hours long.
I guess. But again, changing the events in the past in their logic of time travel does not change the present.
Still wouldn't have fixed it.
Doesn't help the present for some reason.
So, but then we have the problem of Thanos from the past, who is now back to a one-dimensional comic book supervillain.
Yep.
And who is also apparently has no Infinity Stones, but is yet stronger than Thanos, than Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor combined.
Yeah. Somehow
that was a thing.
Because it seems like, and obviously they haven't really explored Thanos' power level.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's just a dude who's really smart. Like his brain works good.
Oh, sorry, that's the beer.
He seems to be at about the same strength level as the Hulk. But because he is also able to think tactically, he can beat up the Hulk.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of what I got out of that scene, is like, the Hulk's probably about as strong as he is, but yeah, because he has
because they kind of established that in the previous movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I mean, right at the start.
Because he only had one power stone at that exact moment, and it didn't appear that he actually used it for anything in that fight.
Yeah.
So that's about the power level I expect him to be at. He's Hulk strong, but also, a smart, tactical type of character.
Yeah, strong enough for a Hulk, but made for a Avenger. I don't know.
know.
I lost that. I'm sorry. That was bad. I didn't have anything worked out. So we could talk a lot about the kind of problematic things that take place during the time travel section, but I think that's something, because there are so many different things happening right there, it almost bears talking about those things individually, and I'm getting tired, and I'm 2/3 of the way done with my beer. So, and you're done with your beer? How dare you?
I know.
So let's move on. Let's move on to, okay, so they get the Infinity Stones back, and they put it into apparently an Iron Man gauntlet, because that kind of negates any reason for Thor to have gone to the planet with Peter Dinklage there to create.
Well, for sure, it makes it pointless for Thanos to have done it to make his gauntlet in the first place.
Because apparently Tony Stark can just
you just make it.
What's the big deal? I'll just make this thing.
Make a gauntlet. It's not a big deal.
I don't need no friggin' star to do this. What are you talking about? Killing yourself trying to make this stupid gauntlet. Come on.
Right.
Anyway, so that issue aside, the snap happens with
Yep,
that's better. The snap happens with the Hulk, because that's the only thing he's good for.
That's what he does in this movie.
Yeah, and then immediately it becomes okay. I feel like we should talk about Hawkeye and Black Widow, because that was actually a really good scene. We'll talk about that some other time. I thought that was a really good scene. What's your quick take?
It was a good scene. I thought it was really awkward that they used the exact same music from Infinity War when they were showing her dead on the rocks.
I did not notice that.
It was weird.
I believe you.
It was weird.
Yeah. So good character moment for those two. Moving on. So the snap happens. It's identified. I think it worked. And then, of course, boom, 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 boom.
Wait. You missed something fun. Because the way they find out that this unsnap worked is because the Hawkeye gets a call from his wife. And all I could think is Hawkeye's been paying that phone bill for the last 5 years.
Yep. He was just holding out hope.
Yep.
I'm just going to keep paying this bill.
I'm just going to keep paying that phone bill, and I'm going to leave her phone right where it was.
Now, credit where credit's due. Maybe Verizon, at the time of the snap, decided just to cut everybody's phone bill in half. I mean, maybe they did that. Maybe Verizon was super excited about maybe they're going to come back someday.
In honor of the snap.
In honor of the snap. Sprint and Verizon and all those guys. AT&T
those snap sales.
Snap sales. So there we go. Problem solved. Their problem solved. So I have no problem with that part of the movie. His phone bill, he was paying the same phone bill.
I love the idea of these corporations Cashing in on the Thanos snap. Okay.
It was a snap judgment on their part.
That's
Yeah, that's good. That's good promotion. That's good promotion. And they could have now if they'd been, we could go. Okay, we could go on. We could keep going on along these lines, but it's probably really only funny because we've just had too much beer. Anyway,
we should cut it short.
we
there.
could. All right. So
For the
moving
final
on.
third of Avengers Endgame, you will have to tune in next time.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and the third and probably the most problematic part
Yeah, that's right.
of Avengers Endgame, because this has become a rather long deal. But we will talk about the finale. We will talk about the finale of Avengers Endgame and probably other things at the same time on the next episode. So thank you for putting up with us for that long. And I suppose we should at least say, we said it earlier, but would you recommend for people to watch Endgame?
Oh yeah,
This has been
people need to see this movie. It was very, it was a very large project, and I think for the most part they did it justice.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think they did as good a job as anyone could hope for, which is giving them a lot more credit than I give the guys who put together Game of Thrones. So with that, we will talk about Avengers, the finale of Avengers Endgame, what we liked, what we didn't like, and we will talk about that in a future episode, along with many other things Marvel related, at least MCU related when it comes to films, because, well, let's face it, I'm not really much of a comic book guy, so
same.
I'm sorry. But with that, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.
On the next one.
On the next one. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, and good night, good day, good evening, good morning. One of those. And goodbye.